Hello everyone, welcome to Gosport Railworks. My name is James and today I'll be doing my first ever product showcase video because well, I'm pretty much exceeding how many models I'll be making per month, so I can't actually make a dedicated video for each product anymore. So yeah, I've decided to basically put them all into the same video together and do a little segment for each one, but you won't be seeing me building each one, unfortunately. So yeah, Digital Foundry series is now at an end, and yeah, this will be taking its place instead. But it does mean you get to see more models which I'll be making and offering to everybody. So I'll just go do a brief overview of each one, and then we can go into each segment and I'll be able to tell you a bit about the prototype and a bit more about the model and how to put it together yourself at home. So yeah, that's one we start with. Start with the coaches over here first. So these are my Maunsell restaurant coaches. Just two of the varieties. They do come in 4 varieties. So we've got the kitchen one here. So that's the kitchen first, if I remember. And this is the dining car to go with it. I can't remember the exact diagram numbers, unfortunately. They always completely go past my mind. But yeah, they've turned out quite nicely. The little door at the front there, a bit awkward to work out how to make it so it doesn't break when printing, but yeah, that turned out rather nice. And they, as with my other Maunsell coaches, they fit onto the Dapol Maunsell chassis with a little bit of work, or you can get them printed with their own chassis and you just get some wheels to go with it. Anyway, now on to next load of coaches. And these are the British Railways Mark 1 63-foot Suburban coaches, which is to cover a slight gap which Farish haven't been doing, which is they only produce the 57-foot Suburbans. So yeah, I pretty much make the 63-foot ones. So yeah, that's a bit more common, which you find on, I think it's the western and definitely the southern region, because we used these down here a lot more often than the 57-foot foot variety. So yeah, this is a nice free coach rake there, and they do come with some underframe detail which you can glue on afterwards. Still need to work out why that keeps being a bit blotchy, but never mind. Let's see, let's go on to the steam loco. Right, this is a redo of my previous, previous Southern Railway L1 class. So this has now been brought up to current standards. It's not complete, unfortunately, but yeah, it does look rather nice still. And it does still use the 4P driving chassis, but it's now remotored with a new motor, and it does use a N-class tender, which I will go into a bit later on, and I'll tell you how I fitted all that together. But yeah, it's now looking a bit more prototypical, and it looks rather nice in my opinion. And lastly, we got a new multiple unit. This is the Southern Railway Nelsons. Yes, those ones, as I have done all the varieties, so we need to get a good look there. So we've got the 4 core, 4 res, 4 buff, and 4 grill, if I remember rightly. So yes, that's all of them there. And I have, well, this is my own one, but I have printed some off. And yeah, you can get them in their own varieties, and a few extra little differences as well, because you can get different coil ends at the end here. And they also come with underframes as well. So yes, that's the products for this month. And yeah, let me get them all onto the turntable, and I can tell you a bit more about the prototypes which they're based off, and a bit more about how to put the models together. And then yeah, I may get 1 or 2 running, because I know that one does run, that doesn't. I'll see if I can get the coaches behind something as well. Anyway, I'll see you in a bit. Right, let's start with the coaches. First of all, we'll start with my Maunsell coaches, which are fairly easy to do. Obviously, you do the usual painting, well, undercoat painting and all the other little bits. You also need to do the transfers on the side here. For these ones, because I haven't actually got around to adding them yet, you do need to add the handrails, which is quite easy. You just need to drill two little holes where the handrails will be, and then carefully thread some very thin wire through. Same with the door handles here, and also here and here, and the same on the other coats as well. So just there, and there and there. Right, and you can get these in two varieties. First variety is the usual fitting, where you can just add bogies on for yourself, like these. The other ones will be if you want to fit them to Dapple Maunsell chassis. I'll just have one here. And for this one, you just use the donor body. You remove the body. You remove the inside if you really want to. You can probably reuse it. And you do need to remove a couple of things just to make sure that this body does sit on quite nicely. I'd recommend removing the original retaining lugs. So there's one here, one here, one here, and also three more on the opposite side as well. And also you do need to cut down these little alignment, I don't want to say lugs, but alignment bits here. One here, one here, one here, one here. So one on each corner. You just need to carefully cut them down, and then it should be nice and, I don't want to say flat, that should be nice and easy to pop them on. And I'm just going to put this back together. How do I put it back together? How do I put it? There we go. Yeah, that one I want to stay as is, so that one can live over there. And yeah, once you've removed them, you get two well, for this case, you get two nice chassis to fit onto two nice coaches. And that's pretty much it, really. The interior is then up to you if you want to add an interior. Otherwise, if you're like me, and try not to drop it, if you're like me, just leave it as is and just use the interior walls to add a bit of variety for the insides. So that's pretty much for the Maunsell coaches. So let's move on to the next one. So I'll pop you over here. And for these, it is pretty much like my usual coaches. So basically, give them a undercoat, give them a paint in whatever livery you feel like. Mine will be in green. Paint the roof, paint the black ends, and also the underframe down here. I wouldn't paint the pivots here, but you can probably paint them if you want to, but I'll be leaving mine probably a bit bare. There's still probably a bit of paint on, but otherwise, yeah, that's how they are. And the underframe itself will be painted black. Then, since these ones do have the detail printed on, they do have the handrail, well, not handrails, there's a couple of handrails here. They have the door handles and some handrails, which you need to pick out in a metallic colour, like a silver colour. I'd recommend using something like a, a paint pen. So something like this. This is black, obviously, but you can get it in silver. These are quite useful if you want to pick out some nice, easy colours. Also nice to touch up some of the bits down here. So yeah, after you've done that, and also for the Maunsell coaches, add a, well, give it a varnish after you've done all your painting and all your the transfer work. Add glazing, and then seal it up by adding a bit of floor, making sure that this is nicely filed down, because you do need to file this down because it is a very snug fit. Unfortunately, since these are printed this way up, just so that the top has all lovely crisp detail, the underside here is a bit rough, so you do need to file that down as best you can. Do be a bit careful, because well, as you can see here, I kind of broke this bit here. So yeah, do be a bit careful with your underframe, as it does break. It is fairly brittle, but if you carefully hold where it's the most stable, which will probably be these battery boxes, it'll be a lot more better to hold. And you just carefully file it, and yeah, it should be nice and smooth. You pop that in there, and you make sure that it's nice and level as well. So get that roughly in about the middle. There we go. So once that's all done and also painted, then you can see the little gaps which you got in here, covered up with some plasticard. Maybe cover up this bit with plasticard as well, depending on if you feel like it. And before you all glue it up, make sure you put some extra little bit of weight on the inside, just to make sure that it has a nice fair amount of weight when you pull it round. And also obviously add the buffers as well. And that's all done. And that's pretty much how you do all the coaches. So yeah, that's all that done. And now let's move on to some, so I'll see you in a sec. Right, here we have my Southern Railway L1 class redo, and it's looking rather nice. And how to make this is you pretty much, let me remove that. First of all, you need to get a Paris 4P chassis and basically strip it out of all the mechanical bits. And also the need to remove the valve gear and stuff like that, and basically have it as a basic 440, basically like a 2P chassis. And you need to replace the motor with a Tamba X3 motor. I can't remember how to pronounce it, but you need to basically install one of them and solder that up as you would. To get the right length chassis for the tender, I've used a Paris N-Class chassis. You could use the tender body as well, which they give you, but I've decided to have my own one. And you basically, well, the best way which I've managed to fit that to the 4P chassis is basically I made my own drawbar. So that is using a little bit of copper. So here's a little bit of copper, and I basically cut that to length and to the right shape, and drilled 2 holes in it at either end, and basically added the screw there, and it's basically a fairly durable drawbar. And then you just need to wire it up to everything as usual, and that should fit on there quite nicely. Have added weight to the tender by using some lead pellets, the usual liquid gravity, and that's underneath the coal here. Then add coal just to hold it all up, and that's a fairly nice weight. So I'll pop you there. For the loco chassis, right, I have managed to add a lot of weight to the inside of the model here. So there's lots of lead strips on the inside, just above where the motor would be. And since this is a smaller motor than the original, it does give you a lot of space to add more weight. And basically try to avoid adding any weight to the front here, because you want to add more weight to the drive wheels. And it does nicely, there we go. It does fit very nicely on the body there, on the chassis there. And you do still have a little bit of space if you want to add a bit more weight here and there. However, I still need to wire mine up. So yeah. Anyway, let's go on to the last thing to have a look at. So I'll see you in a sec. And lastly, we have my Nelsons. So these are a bit half and half. So these 3, which are the trailer units, these are all done basically like the same as my coaches. So paint them as you would do, pick out all the details. If need be, add in handrails if you need to with the usual thin wires. Then also you do need to remove some of these support structures here, just because they're there to make sure that the model doesn't balloon out and become a very, very strange shape. And then you add the appropriate underframe. So the driving motor, I can't remember, DM, I think it's BT, so it's a driving motor brake third or something like that. The driving unit, that will have one of these a bit more filled up underframes. You'll get one of them when you have order. So that will live over here. And for the middle trailer units, they just have these more basic ones, which can add a bit more detail to if you want. And if need be, just add a bit more details here and there where you feel like. Since these are corridor units, I will recommend using some very fine tweezers, just because you'll need to get right in there. Maybe remove some of these support bits here as well, just to get the glazing in, because it's going to be a very, very tight fit. So yeah, definitely use tweezers. I have tried to allow space here and there for the more awkward spots, but I can't get everywhere, and I do want it to look correct. So I'll pop you over there. And for the dry axle powered unit, this is a Tomitech TM25, which I'm using here. It's not exactly perfect, because the one which I do want to use, they don't make anymore, which is the TM18 or 17. But what you need to do is you first of all need to remove the ends, making sure that the axle bogie isn't affected. So remove the ends on both sides, because just to make sure that it does slide in quite nicely. And if need be, just add a little bit of padding here with either thin card or thin plastic card, or just paper need be, just to make sure that it does fit in as it should do. And then glue it as you would. And the rest of it is spray, paint, and decorate as you would. And yeah, that's pretty much it really. I do have a second variety of this, a bit more suitable for if you want to use a Farish or what is it, the Green Max chassis, just to give a bit more space. It is a slightly bit more different than this one, so do request it if you want to. It doesn't come with an underframe, because for the Tomitech version, it's got this big motor bit, but this is actually a weight underneath here, so can't really hide that all that well. But I do have a underframe which has a gap in the middle for well, it was made specifically for one person, but it's got a gap in the middle for basically if there's a lug in the middle here, and you can fit it around that, or you can just dismantle it and use it to add your underframe separately on the outside. Up to you. And that's pretty much it really. So yeah, I'm going to get these onto a turntable and tell you a bit more about the prototype. So I'll see you in a bit. The Maunsell carriage was intended to be the standard carriage design for use across the Southern Railway lines, incorporating the best features of each of the former company's designs. Maunsell coaches were constructed between 1925 and 1936 at Eastleigh, with 1,200 being built. In August 1925, construction began on 6 first-class dining saloons for the western section. The first of a batch of 26 such vehicles under diagram 2651, they were intended for the London Bournemouth, London Portsmouth and London Exeter services, and were of low window design. Seating 24 passengers in 4 seating bays at one end, and the kitchen, pantry, service vestibule and side corridor at the other. A set of double loading doors opened into the vestibule, while passengers accessed the restaurant from gangways at either end. 4 further low-windowed dining saloons were completed between July and December 1929, intended for the interregional free sets, and in May and June 1930, 10 further dining saloons entered service on West Country workings. Maunsell's diagram 2652 third-class dining saloons were built in 1927 to provide an area for third-class passengers to make use of the kitchen services provided in the first-class kitchen dining coaches. In 1947, the 6 coaches received updated interiors, with 4 of the coaches becoming composite coaches, and 2 becoming first-class coaches. The 4 composite coaches served on the southwestern section of the railway network, paired with diagram 2659 kitchen buffet cars. Compared to the corridor vehicles, these were never very numerous and were only associated to a few lines on the southern region. Most BR Mark I long corridors were built on the short 57-foot underframes, primarily to work over the metropolitan widened lines into Moorgate. However, some were completed on the longer underframes, resulting with 1 extra compartment per coach, and allocated to the western and southern regions. The first to appear on the southern were 4 3 coach sets for Exeter to Exmouth branch services delivered from Swindon in early 1956 in a plain unlined Crimson Lake livery. These sets comprised a brake third, composite and a second brake third, and were occasionally augmented by up to 3 loose compartment thirds. The 3 sets and the loose vehicles were supplied in BR Crimson Lake livery and were later on revarnished and were painted BR green by December 1960. Perhaps surprisingly, the southern region had further need of non-corridor coaches from 1964. In anticipation of improved electrified services to Bournemouth, housing developers had started much new house building to the west of Woking, and this soon overwhelmed the few steam-hauled commuter services. The coaches were not universally popular, and some commuters preferred to stand in the corridor coaches forming the rest of the train. Despite their unpopularity, these coaches remained in use until July 1967, after which they were rapidly sent for scrap. Many of the underframes were converted into car flats.
Southern Railway L1 class was a class of 440 steam tender locomotives built for express passenger service on the South Eastern Main Line of the Southern Railway. They were designed by Richard Maunsell as the development of Harry Wainwright's L class. In 1926 there was an urgent requirement for 15 more powerful 440 locomotives for the London to Folkestone express trains. Maunsell did not rebuild the L class as the locomotives were still relatively new and useful in their present form. He rather amended Wainwright's drawings to form his own L1 class and supplied them to the North British Locomotive Company. The locomotives were used on express trains on the South Eastern main lines from London to Dover, Ramsgate and Hastings. They remained on these duties until mid-1930s, when they were gradually replaced by the heavier trains by the older King Arthur and newer schools classes. They continued to be used on former London Chatham and Dover Railway main line to Dover and Ramsgate until after the Second World War and the nationalisation of British Railways in 1948. The transfer of bullied light Pacifics to these services in the early 1950s made the class largely redundant. Some were briefly transferred to Eastleigh and to replace worn-out locomotives on cross-country services, but most spent their careers between London and the Kent coast. The draw was begun in 1959, and the final example, number 31786, was withdrawn in February 1962. None survived to be preserved.
The Southern Railway gave the designations 4 Core, 4 Res, 4 Buff and 4 Gree to the different types of electrical multiple unit built to work the route between London Waterloo and Portsmouth Harbour. The 4 Core type units survived long enough into British Rail ownership to be allocated the TOPS number Class 404. The Southern Railway electrified the London Waterloo to Portsmouth Harbour by a Woking line in mid-1930s, and full electric services commenced over the route from April 1937. For this service, 29 4-core units and 19 4-res units were built. Corridor connections were provided throughout each unit, including between units. This gave them a distinctive front-end appearance, as the head code display was placed on the opposite side of the gangway connection to the driving cab window, leading to their nickname of Nelsons, referring to Lord Nelson's iPads and also their connection with Portsmouth. It was intended that, for principal services, 12-car formations would operate with a 4-res unit which provided the kitchen and dining facilities for the train, sandwiched between 2 4-core units. The Southern Railway then electrified the line from Three Bridges to Portsmouth via Horsham and the coastal route from West Worthing to Havant, with services over this route commencing in July 1938. For services from London Victoria to Portsmouth via Dorking over these lines, another 26 4-core units were built, together with 13 4-car buffer units as 4 buffs. In the early 1960s, the kitchen cars in 3 4-res units were converted into griddle cars and were given the classification 4 Gree. Apart from the 4 Res units, which were disbanded in 1964, the 4 Core, 4 Buff and 4 Gree units continued in passenger service till 1972. One complete unit was saved for preservation, as were a number of individual vehicles. Right, and that's pretty much all the models for this month. This is a bit more than I'd normally have, because I only plan to do about 3 a month, but I've still got a bit of backlog from before, so still catching up. But yeah, hope you enjoyed all the models. Hopefully this format works. Do let me know of any suggestions, because like I said, this is a brand new format and I want to make it a bit more informative for everything. But yeah, like I said, feedback will be greatly appreciated. But yeah, for now, for a couple of episodes, it'll be a bit me working out what on earth I'm doing. So yeah, obviously I would like to get everything all painted, but yeah, I don't really have time to get everything all painted before recording. So yeah, everything's going to be a bit hodgepodge for how far they've progressed. Anyway, this video is probably getting on a bit too long, so that's going to be it for me. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you do like the video, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and also do give me feedback down below. And if you did enjoy it, well, I hope you enjoyed it anyway, and I'll see you all again next time. And I did promise that I'll get something running around, and it's going to be the 4 Core. So here we go. Off it goes. Take care now. Bye-bye. Is it going around? Just about. Take care now.